What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. We are here to talk about our good friend Phil and his recent shenanigans at a tournament down in New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, a war in the Wastelands. And yeah, we're gonna talk about how he did. He had a pretty damn good run, and we're gonna talk about it today. So Phil, let's start with the list, right? We gotta start there.
Gotta start with the list. Okay. So, boys and girls at home, I have good news. Deathwatch is now Purge. So, I decided that I was originally going to run Windrider Host because I want to get reps in with that, and I really like that list, and it's really, really fun. But I was like, I got too much hobbying I need to do. Deathwatch is right there, and it's on Purge, so I want to see if it's any good. Obviously, it's good. It's solid. So we're running Black Spear. 3 detachment points. We got a Captain Gravis with Tome, which gives the double oath. We have the Indomitor Kill Team with him. This is going to be this is the bolt rifle heavy kill team. So 8 heavy bolt rifles, 2 heavy bolters, big 10-man, captains with him. Then you got Lieutenant with Combi. He's got Thief, Strength 5 -2, flat 2. So he can go out and kill other combi weapon lieutenants. He can go into scouts and kill them. He can go into intercessors, infiltrators. Like, he's just like a little bit more killy, and at strength 5, it's a pretty big break point for going into orcs and some other stuff. So we got double Fortis kill teams. These are the indirect with plasma. These might be the MVPs of the tournament just in general in terms of how efficient they are. Double Incursor squad. These guys give the +1 to hit. They have the Incursor mine. They have paired combat blades, which are AP1 in combat, which is really nice. And then the real meat and potatoes of this list is 2 more Indomitor kill teams. These have the Meltas. These have the aggressors with Boltstorm gauntlets. No flamers in here at all. It was just the Boltstorm gauntlets, the frags, and then Meltas and the rifles. And then 2 of the new land speeders, both with Gatlings. These guys were fantastic. I wanted something to change out. I like the Deathwatch Terminators a lot. They are great. They force battle shocks. But these guys do what Terminators do, but cheaper. And I'll explain why in a second. But then last up is a Storm Speeder Hammer Strike. I definitely don't leave home without one of these in this edition. Strip cover is real good. And when you have access to strip cover and +1 to hit and heavy all over the place, like, and good strats that can benefit you, like, Hammer Strike is very beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. You need at least one way to do it. I believe you also have a strat for ignore cover as well. So
Yeah.
being able to be like, well, is it worth the strat? Is it worth, the piece, maybe risking losing it with your speeder itself? Definitely worth having in there. 3 Indomitor kill teams. That doesn't surprise me at all. Not one bit. Yeah, I think that's very fair. One of the things I think we had kind of talked about was it was for different reasons in 10th that you took it, but in 11th, the Fortis teams were something that we kind of had talked about leading up to you taking Deathwatch to this tournament, and kind of the utility they provide and the gap they fill within that Deathwatch codex.
Yeah, so Fortis kill teams are really interesting in this edition because of the changes to indirect. They're not as effective as an indirect tool because either I'm hitting on 6s, and even if I oath you, I don't get the rerolls. I can still get lethals, I can still get sustained, or if I move at all, right? Like, and even if I can see you, like with another unit, I'm still hitting on 6s. So they have to be stationary assets. I have long held firm that the Fortis bricks are not actually stationary assets. Like, their indirect is cute, but it's not the reason you take them. You take them because they get +1 to hit against a unit that is below starting strength, and they get +1 to wound if they're below half. You know what that means for me when I'm rolling a bunch of shots with, like, if I have army-wide sustained up or lethal up, going into an oath target, and it just means I'm that much more efficient, right? And it's really important to stuff like boys, which happen to be running around in this edition. When you have a 20 man of boys and I can get you down below half before I put the Fortis brick into you, it does mean I'm going to be that much more effective. Or if I'm just shooting into you with the Fortis brick after I kill a boy, right now I'm hitting you on 2s. Even if you have benefits of cover, you go back to the 3s, but then I can strip cover and go back to 2s. So, like, hitting on 2s, full rerolls, very efficient, a decent amount of shots. I like it a lot. I like the brick a lot. I think it's really, really nice. because, I was talking about this with my round one opponent. I need to be lethal enough that I can put something out there that isn't the Indomitor bricks in some of these matchups. Because if I give my Indomitor bricks too early, I get put into a position where my opponent can really take advantage of the bricks, and I can't lose them. They are so important to this list. It's all my damage, it's all my lethality, it's all my mobility. Like if I allow them to tie them up, I can't pick them up, which is huge. And it can be really tough. And I don't have combat in this list. Like there's no like the Captain and Gravis, sure. Lieutenant Combi, he's cute. The Indomitor kill teams have 3 power fists apiece that are twin linked. That is not good enough in terms of the way combat goes in this game. And I'll kind of explain overall what you have to do to play an army like this. Because this is not the only type of like quote unquote pure gunline armies that you have to be super cognizant of, because this army is lethal. Very much so. But the Fortis bricks are just so important.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely do fill that role very, very well, as you're saying, right? Whether it's finishing off some units, it's also nice to have something that you can rely on to not be the second Indomitor team you have to bring in, right? You can do most of the damage with an Indomitor and be like, cool, now we come into Fortis, we clean up the rest, and we're happy, right? You don't feel like you're overcommitting your most important resources in the game, which is very, very big. But let's go ahead and start diving into some of your matchups, and we can get into some more of kind of how this list actually plays.
Yeah, so first round we went into Salamanders, which is like honestly a very good list. It's Forge Fathers is good, Librarius Conclave is insane. This unit as a whole is really, really solid. And to be fair, I get why it's so good. So I think overall, I was really impressed with this list. So we'll just go over real quick. We got Vulcan with a 5-man, Captain and Gravis with an aggressor squad, all flamers, obviously, another captain with aggressors, all flamers, another librarian with a 10-man Infernus, another librarian with a 10-man Stern Guard, 2 drop pods, Furnace Squad, Bare Bones, 2 Land Raider Redeemers for all your aggressors, and a singular Scout Squad. So, my opponent's running Recon. I'm running, obviously, Purge the Foe. And there's some things that are going to come out to you that I'll kind of explain here of why I think, like, overall, I was able to take advantage of a game like this. So, all right. So, Purge and a Recon. Overall, Dawn of War is not necessarily what Salamanders want to see, because I can really abuse these side angles, right? These objectives are relatively closed, and my opponent with their Land Raiders and Recon is definitely a really interesting problem because they don't have to necessarily engage. They are mighty lethal, and I can't get inside 12 inches of a lot of their stuff. So what that means is even with my 6-inch ranged strat, I cannot get after, and I can't get within melter range of the Land Raiders, which is like my main way of killing them. Is I need to get within melter range. So like right off the bat, I'm super, super concerned. But unfortunately, my opponent put me in a position where they actually allowed me to find a way into this game, which is playing super defensive with the Land Raiders. So my opponent has to triangulate. They have to come out and do the actions. Realistically, a combi weapon lieutenant, a unit of scouts, those are the first units that you put out here. Even a Land Raider, right? Like into some armies, not mine, but into some armies, a Land Raider coming out here and touching and triangulating isn't the end of the world. The problem is when we went over that list, there is no combi weapon lieutenant. There is only one unit of scouts, and he started his scouts on his home objective, trying to be very, very safe with them, which meant that when he wanted to do his triangulate first action, guess what unit he brought out? He brought out Vulcan and his 5-man of boys. And I immediately traded Fortis Brick that I had back behind this wall because he was, let's see here, he came out and touched it just like this. So I had my Fortis Brick all back here. They came up, and this was Vulcan. Like he was the dude that I could see. So it meant that I was able to run my incursors up that I already scouted. They shot into him, got a +1 to hit, got him below starting strength. The whole Fortis Brick unloaded into him. and then that unit just died. And Vulcan is very important for the Forge Fathers in general. So like my opponent was already on the back foot with that. And he just didn't have the trading to maintain space. So like for example, if my opponent puts a Land Raider on this objective, which very easily could do, they could fit right between the space. What does he have to push beyond where the Land Raider is to prevent me from deep striking outside of 12 inches away and just unloading a full Indomitor brick into it? He doesn't. He doesn't want to put the flamers out in front or the aggressors out in front because that means I could get to shoot into them. And I'm really efficient at killing Terminators, and aggressors or Space Marines. Like, it doesn't matter. I kill 2 wound bodies and 3 wound bodies like it's my job. So because he didn't have any of those extra screening pieces, and couldn't bait me out with anything, he had to give me real assets, which meant I was able to get into Land Raiders and pop them on the same turn, and make charges into everything else, because at that point, like, I'm just trying to put as many power fists into you as possible and tie things up. And it all started with that one move. The second you give up Vulcan, now you're behind. I don't care if you have Oath and +1 to wound. Vulcan needs to be there for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that is definitively something, we've talked a lot about is, treasure your trash, because it's so important. You need them to be those early game pieces because you can't afford to give up units like that. Yeah, it is a very interesting list. Where did the drop pods go? That's what I'm curious about. The people need to know about this drop pod tech and how they were used.
Yeah, so let's see here. On his turn, he was able to drop pod onto my home. Sorry, he was able to drop pod onto his home. So I put in a unit of aggressor or my Indom brick. I dropped them back here and wiped everything off his home. And then there was a flamer unit here. So I was able to pick up both and kill his home. And he had to do this in response to try to pick them up. My Overwatch killed 4 or 5 of the Stern Guard, which means like all that 1 damage. Sure, it's scary, but my aggressors are 3 wounds apiece. So like you pick up 2 or 3 of them, and then I walk forward, shoot you, and you die. So he had to use 1 defensively, and then he tried to use the other 1 aggressively to get after my natural. Unfortunately, when this one dropped here, the only thing he picked up was a speeder. So like because he didn't have the other trading pieces like Vulcan or like storm speeders or land speeders would be good for a list like this, where like they are efficient and you have +1 to wound, and like land speeders would be fantastic because they can go out and they're much better than what drop pods are capable of doing. So yeah, he unfortunately had to use both of them pretty defensively. One trying to secure his home and the other trying to push my natural, but I just didn't give up. He wasn't able to go into anything real.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, that seems like a solid game. You found a weakness, exploited it, and just carried on. Anything else about this game, or you wanna talk about the old round 2?
Dustin was a great opponent. He asked me after a lot of feedback on his list, and we went through it all. I think I've gotten him to a place where, like, hey, dude, this land speeder, very, very good. Combi weapon lieutenant, pretty important. Maybe another scout squad would be really good. And I actually didn't realize this. There's an enhancement in Forge Fathers that you can give it to the combi weapon lieutenant, and it makes all damage 1 going into him.
That's not bad at
and it
all.
makes multi-wound damage, including meltas and everything else, also damage 1. It changes their damage characteristic to 1.
Right. So Melta still goes through though after, but
Correct.
yeah, gotcha. Still great. Absolutely great.
Still, I was like, dude, why are we not taking this right now? Like, this is made for the combi weapon lieutenant. He'll never die.
Yeah, 2 Rep-X lasers to the face, dude. 2 damage. Maybe, if you don't make your feel no pains.
Exactly. So it's like that was like, I didn't even realize that was an enhancement on there. We're taking that.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, round 2, you played into the mirror, Purge the foe against Colton Graham. And he was running the old Ret Cadre with a commander in Cold Star that had the enhancement for prototype weapon system attached to some Fire Knife battle suits, another Cold Star commander with Star Size, another Cold Star with the enhancement for Starflare ignition system. Oh, the other one did have internal grenade racks as well, just taking all the enhancements. So we do have 1 unit of Fire Knives, 1 unit of Star Size, and 1 unit of Sun Forges, all with a Cold Star Battlesuit Leader. Dark Strider, 2 Ethereals, the Twin Lance, as always. You cannot not take them, I think, still. 2 Broadside Battlesuits, 1 Ghost Keel, 2 Riptides, and then we have 2 units of Stealth Suits. Yeah, I guess, was this player, did you talk to Colton at all? Was maybe a Purge player that was playing Mont Ka before and made the switch, or have they been rocking Retcad the whole time?
So he was playing Monka previously. He was very sad with their change. He wants to play Purge the Foe, so he has switched to Retaliation Cadre. But he is more familiar with Monka. He's more familiar with the army as a whole in terms of the play lines in Monka. Red Cadre is not necessarily his most comfortable detachment. So yeah, it was an interesting list. I think this is actually really solid. The Fire Knife and all the Cold Star units are just like tricked out to the nines. They all do something a little bit different. Having the missile drones, really, really important. The missile pods, obviously very good. The burst cannons are interesting, but it's a lot of shots. And then the fusion obviously is good for picking up a lot of the things that it needs to pick up. And then the nice part about Retaliation Cadre is they have the reactive move after they shoot. So they have Fire and Fade. And that's a full normal movement, which is pretty freaking far. The only issue with this list is, so looking at a list like this in terms of how I evaluated it, I was like, what are the things that I actually don't want my opponent to put into my Indomitor bricks? I don't want them to put either of the Riptides into them, because if they're able to crack devs, I'm not getting a save. They're 4 wounds apiece. Now it's just picking up. If I allow someone to like line up and tee off one of my Indom bricks, I just lose it. And if I don't get to trade anything for it, it gets really, really bad. This Fire Knife Missile unit is pretty scary, reasonably. The fusion means I'm not pretty much getting a save, and it's going into whatever. And then the fact that the whole army ignores cover, the what are they called? Stealth battle suits, reroll ones on both sides, pretty freaking good for being efficient. So this army obviously puts out the damage, and it shows. It is Meat Grinder. My opponent doesn't necessarily have, we were both running pretty low on units, so that wasn't necessarily an issue that I was most concerned about. But on Meat Grinder, we were on layout B because we did layout B all day 1 and then layout A day 2, which was really interesting and wasn't the traditional GW recommendation of, rotate through each one. So this is a really dense layout, and it's got a very interesting staging point here, specifically for the Cold Star, all the suits, right? They can pop out, pop back in, pop out, pop back in, and that can be pretty frustrating in terms of trying to get after. My opponent did make a mistake in terms of they don't necessarily have a lot of screening pieces, right? The Ethereal is okay, but he's not going to cover enough. And the rest of this list really needs to be up because the Stealth battle suits want to start pinging stuff so they can get the rerolls. So my opponent left their home. So from turn 3 onwards, I was able to control my opponent's home, which in the Meat Grinder mirror, we'll see it here. You get 5 points for controlling your opponent's home. And that happens at the end of the turn. So I was just walking forward, or I was just deep striking Fortis bricks, putting it on there, shooting a bunch of stuff. And then I was able to apply pressure elsewhere with the Indomitor bricks kind of playing in front to pick up the things I needed to pick up, because he got really aggressive with getting to, this expansion objective, because ideally
You're still on the card.
He was very aggressive with getting towards this middle objective and wanting to deny it over and over again because he did not want me to push past this to get to his home. So the Twin Lance came here, and then he dropped in his Fire Knife unit right all along this wall and just ran them all the way down, because I had a unit out here, a Fortis brick, that I was using to push and pressure. So when he brought a full Fire Knife unit out and a full Twin Lance out, this is not actually a safe spot, right? Because I can punish it from this corner with all of my Indominators. I could very easily just run right here, ignore cover, get everything that's in here. Obviously, if this unit has shot, which they did, and he gave up pretty much both of these units for free because the Riptides, not in Monka, don't have the auto 6 advance. So it means like I can a lot more reliably pressure things and not have to worry nearly as much as the Riptides just jamming me because they're honestly terrifying. Just because they're very efficient, right? Flat 4 damage with no save and devs and rerolls, like it's just obnoxious. But the second like that problem gets dealt with, it becomes much harder to play the game because he can't screen it out. He has to push more assets up. I'm able to take us home, and I'm trying to get this game going as fast as possible. So like my trash is better than his trash, except for the ghost kill. Ghost kill is real annoying. I can't kill that thing to save. I've just learned to ignore it. John Kill Comments has taught me so many times to not go after the ghost kill. Like I just ignore it now. It is what it is. You know, if you jam it into me and you give me a good opportunity to kill it, I'll take it. But I'm not going to stretch for one of those ever again.
Yeah. Just 2 bad blanks, and you're just like, well, that I did nothing. Okay,
Yeah,
now
exactly.
I just lose something.
Oh, it's got built-in stealth. Great. Fantastic. Okay. All right. Yeah, because like I can't trade with those, and they are really nice. And they're a great unit for Tau. It's just like I've been burned one too many times of like I kind of have the damage here. And then I don't get enough wounds through, and it's like, okay, there's blank, and it's alive. Oh, shit. So overall, it's just like an overexposure. The Purge, if you have like a lethal army like Colton did, there is a world where, like, for scoring, it's just one or more enemy units were destroyed. And then you only get the more enemy units were destroyed this turn based on how much you lost the previous turn. Or, yeah. So, like, if you play passive and you wait until the chance of, like, hey, I can kill 3 units, you can go for one of those big turns. And ideally, it's one of those big turns where maybe you can get onto your opponent's home and also do this, like, and then while giving up the minimal stuff as possible. Fortunately, Colton overcommitted a few times, like with that crisis suit unit that we talked about that was running down the side, and the twin lance, and the trash that he had pushed out. So like, yes, he doesn't have as much trash as you would expect into some of these Monka lists because he's not running like breachers or anything like that, but it is enough for me to kill things. And unfortunately, I am efficient into almost everything.
Yeah. Deathwatch does definitely have some lethality, and you want that. Purge is the bread and butter, and I think as you've shown this weekend, you like the change.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, the third game of the weekend, playing into John Camacho and Chaos Demons with Blood Legion and Cavalcade of Chaos, which is the mounted Khorne detachments. First, we have playing Disruption, a Skullmaster with a unit of 6 Blood Crushers, Karnak with a unit of Fleshhounds, a Bloodthirster, 2 Rendmasters on Skull Throne, 1 unit of Bloodletters, another 12 or 2 sixes of Blood Crushers, another 2 Fleshhounds, and then 2 Skull Cannons. Yeah, that is a lot of Khorne dogs. And yeah, that is pretty spicy.
Yeah. So John and I have already played one game into each other. It was a 5-point loss in his favor, so he won by 5 the last time we played. The Khorne Demons list went up a little bit, specifically the Crushers, but overall this list is I think something that I think is very solid for 2 reasons. One, a 8-inch reactive blood surge that, obviously with the increase to engagement range, means that if you get within 8 and your opponent rolls a 6, they are gonna get within engagement range of you. That's pretty freaking terrifying. Now, those Crusher units are huge. Those bases are massive. There were multiple times in the last time we played that I actually could not fall back because there was nowhere for me to go to land because the proximity of all that stuff was just so massive. Obviously, he's got a plus 3-inch to charge. He's got another way to get plus 3 to engagement range, which is really nice. The bold letters are just for the home, but really this is about pressure. right? Like the Crushers will drop in, they'll try to make their charge, try to make their 6, and then relying on a lot of durability. Crushers only got a 5-up invul, but overall, the list functions well because the Thrones give +1 damage to the Crushers, which is obviously awesome because it makes them very, very strong. And then the Skull Cannons was an interesting tech add that he did to force battle shocks. So after they hit you, they force you to take a battle shock, which is really nice, into an addition that obviously really popularizes them.
Yeah, and I assume it's still the army rule is if you're in their shadow, you're -1 to those
Yes,
tests as well. So pretty spicy.
pretty spicy. So we were playing on, once again, layout B. This is tipping point for this one. This one is, well, this is the old one.
I
This
thought
is
it
now
was
this is
take and
now
hold.
split.
I thought it was Purge versus take and hold that got changed, not disruption.
Is it not? Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
I think it's take and hold you're thinking of because Purge versus take and hold got split. That's why we have to redo it.
Okay, all right. Cool. So I have a game plan for what I need to do into John because I was very, very confident going into this game of I knew exactly what it took to win this game, which was my storm speeders, land speeders, which are incredibly important, and combi weapon lieutenant and the incursors. They're actually the ones that make this. If I can keep John far enough out that when he drops, he can't get into anything real, I will be successful. Because like the dogs really won't kill incursors. The dogs won't kill speeders. If he wants to come out, he's got to come out with the crushers. He doesn't have anything else to do it. And I'm going to just, I'm going to just keep picking up units. I'll put out Fortis bricks. I'll put whatever out, but the Indomitors are not coming out until they can go into crushers. That is the rule, right? So we traded very equally. He was able to pressure my natural, which I always knew was going to happen. Like I knew I was going to get denied primary once, if not twice. I was perfectly okay with that, as long as it meant it was Crushers doing it. I was not going to allow him to do it with anything else because I can't really stop the Crushers, right? Like even if I go here turn 1, which I did because he does have a turn 1 deep strike. Even if I go here and push it out, okay, now
Your
he
cursor's not showing up, so we can't tell where.
yeah. All right. So even if I put out my storm speeder, right, and it's out here on this side pushing the terrain and pushing it, the deep strike back, which is perfectly fine, which is what I did. Eventually, I will lose this speeder in combination of the skull cannons with some dog shooting and a charge. I'll potentially lose this, and I will eventually have to push the incursors out, which is fine because the incursors will come out. They'll finish up whatever's remaining of the dogs, and now I'm just playing a game of everything behind me is screened out. You have to come in front of me. So my opponent, is what it is. John was able to make the charge here. And then I gave him a 10 because I had an Indomitor brick all the way back here. I measured it out. I said, the closest you're going to get is a 10-inch charge. Guess what John rolls? 10-inch charge right off the rip. I was like, oh, it was devastating. I was like, oh, you just made that raw. You didn't even have to re-roll it. So it wasn't the end of the world. Like it happens. I planned for that. Is that I was okay with it because I was still able to pick up with my 2 other Indomitor bricks. And then it was just playing a game of don't let the crushers touch me again. Because, like I said, with how big their range is, you know, my Indomitors all the way back here eventually fought their way out of it. But it is incredibly tough, right? To have to try to play that game. The game came down to a final last stand where I was able to get on my opponent's home, and I just wasn't able to score enough in the bottom of 5 scoring. So it was a very close game. It was a 1-point diff. Spoilers ahead, John ended up winning the entire tournament, which was awesome, and I can't wait to play him again to get my revenge, my sweet, sweet revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen a little bit of this played locally and stuff. I do think Blood Legion it's got some sauce, dude. The Ren Masters for extra damage, extra strength, extra AP. Like they just really make those bricks hit even harder on top of already just having great mortals. It's so hard to interact and take space against just maybe you just get surged into. And the fact that it's not even like it's any time they end within 8 It's not like, oh, pick one thing at the end of the movement phase and make a surge move. It is every single time you end with an 8, they get to roll. Wild.
It's thematic, but it's pretty gross.
Yeah, I think that the only thing, and it's like it's very hard to do because of like just the way terrain works and stuff, is like trying to put terrain in the way is like one of your only chances of like, well, I'm barely within 8, but you literally can't get within the 2 even if you roll the 6 because there's impeding terrain. But how exactly you pull that off is like it has to be like the tall crates or something that's like truly massive, that you're in just this odd enough spot that they have to go around and still can't make it to you. But it's still like, that's just such a niche scenario.
Yeah, like how often are you gonna, so like in the normal situation of where they can, like how often are you gonna risk your opponent rolling a 6? Like genuinely, it's gonna be tough because like some of those situations it's gonna feel real bad because a lot of the times when those crushers are down, you need to kill them. And if they manage to get into something, you will not be killing them. Now, there is a trick for it, and I'll just tell you it now so people understand. They have to go into the closest enemy unit. You could, if you have a unit that's closer that has not moved yet, you trigger the initial reactive by moving away or moving close, but not closer than the unit that is closest. And maybe that unit that is closest is behind them, as in they have to go backwards to do it. And then that unit activates and falls back. Now, that unit has to have enough movement to get outside the 8-inch, but it does mean that you could, there are ways you can manipulate it. It's just not easy.
Because I don't think it says anything either about only touching one unit. Is it in there? Is it FAQ'd at least where you can only surge into one thing? Because it might just be under surge move, I guess. It's probably not in Blood Legion.
Yeah, because I think it just says make a surge move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can't target another.
What's that?
So you can only go into one unit. So you can actually do a weird thing of like they can get towards one, but they can't get any closer than within 0.2 or something. If you like have overlapping units, if one has to be there existingly, but you could also be like, all right, the first one is gonna tow up and be just outside of 8, and the second one can move up to be just within 8. Why that matters, I have no idea, but you can do it.
Yeah, but then they could still touch the one that's within 8 because the one outside of 8 will be like a millimeter too far away.
But if you have the room, as long as the first one was just there, though, you could do that and then fall them back. But yeah. Anyway, back to the episode. Yeah, it's a very, very big pain in the ass to have to deal with a potential 8-inch bubble of, oh, I'm just going to touch you and stuff. And you did not have any fights first, which is another thing that you can kind of keep in the pocket of just being like, well, this is the closest target. You can surge into it, but I'll still just fight you, right? If you have an actual melee threat, that is another way to kind of deal with this. Depending on how much you need to fight. Because again, if you have alternating activations or they have the CP, that might not mean anything, right? It's still a possibility, and you need to be paying attention to your game state. But yeah, super close game, a great round 3. Let's go on and go to round 4.
Yeah, so I played another one of the guys that I just met down here. I met him last week. His name's Adrian. Great dude. From what I'm being told and from what, other people talk, he's a huge part of the community down here. Knows Roddy, knows Lane, knows all the guys up north. So obviously, yeah, does a lot of work with developing people and players, and he's a great dude to play against. And he was running his AdMech. So this is a list very similar. We talked a couple weeks ago about ATC, and there was a list that I played there that was almost this list. Adrian made some choices and changes. We'll go over it real quick. Lords of the Forge, Skitarii Hunter cohort. This feels, it's very strong. My opponent, or Adrian, had Belisarius and Thalia, 3 bricks of Skitarii, 2x3 Iron Striders with autocannons, 3 of the Servitor Battleclades. So they have the character in or the Tech Priest in there, which gives them the Lords of the Forge update to give them the Finlow Pain and the Involved, or obnoxiously durable. 2 units of Sicarian Infiltrators, and then a 10-man of Rustalkers and 2 Disintegrators. The big changes here is Adrian went with the Disintegrators versus a lot of the other trash that the list that I played into at ATC had. So, I don't have any tanks. Those autocannons are mighty scary, though, because they'll potentially have full reels to hit, full reels to wound, 5-up crits with sustained.
You got to take those out, bro.
Yeah, I have to kill them. They have to die. I did a lot of pre-measuring because you can give them assault as well. So like we were unfortunately on Dawn of War freaking again. I don't understand. I don't understand. He was running disruption. No, is that taking hold?
He's playing priority assets.
Priority assets. And this is day 2, so yep. So Adrian was running priority assets. So we're on Dawn of War freaking again. So it meant that those stupid chickens could very easily be back behind this wall and get to this corner. And guess what? They can see a lot of stuff down here. They can see into this objective. It's very hard for me to like interact with this unit because they do move pretty quick and they can get down this angle. Same thing on this other side. He was able to get chickens here, which is very easy for him to do. And then now he's just looking to punish down this side, punish down this side. Now, the other thing that AdMech do really well is they flip objectives. So I was immediately like, okay, well, he's probably going to deny me at least once, which is to be expected. I kind of didn't want him to deny me a second time, but I was okay with him denying me the one time. Adrian had, in terms of impactful moments in the game, he went kind of all in. So he brought down the full unit of Rustalkers on this side. He brought out one of the Scorpius Disintegrators to here. He brought up a full Servitor Battleclade unit and pretty much advanced them onto my objective to deny me. He was able to get a battle line unit of Skitarii within 6. So he was able to string them out far enough that the Skitarii were able to come up, touch one of these, give them a +2 to their charge. So now it was a 7 re-rolling with, the Rustalkers are durable. You can give them 5-up Funeral Pain. They have a 5-up Invol. They're T4. There's a lot. That's 20 wounds with the 10-man. Unfortunately, Adrian failed both charges. So he failed the initial and then the reroll. And then coming down. So now he had Truck, a big 10-man, and the Battleclade unit. And on that same turn, he brought out the other Scorpius. And for those that are aspiring Deathwatch players, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for our opponent to overcommit to like killing our little things. So like he came out with this to kill the combi weapon lieutenant. He came out with this and brought them all up here and brought this up because I had incursors on my natural and then I had my 2 speeders behind it. So he was here. My 2 speeders were back behind this profile. So he's like, well, if I just come in and I tie you up, you're not going to be able to do nearly as much. His objective is still safe. Unfortunately, failing the charge was a pretty big deal. And then everything died. So like a Fortis brick came down, picked up a vehicle on its own. An Indom brick picked up this one. My storm with the combination of my Hammer Strike, because it's actually pretty good at killing vehicles because it's got 3 Melta shots. And then my Bolter Indom brick killed the full 10-man of Rustalkers. And I killed the Servitors here, and then he had Servitors on the middle. So I picked up 5 assets in one turn. And yes, the Chicken Walkers are scary, but he had so little left at that point that he just wasn't able to maintain pressure in the game. And those were all like his main pressure pieces.
Yeah, it's one of those things where even though it's definitively going to kill you, you can't, especially with priority, right? Like it was still action based, I'm pretty sure, for the priority S's to still score and stuff. Like there's only so much you can do. You can only kill so much and score so much at the same time once you're down to those few units.
So like the nice part about it is you could just stack up the Vital Link actions. You could just keep going in there. Those servitors are fantastic at it, and you're just pushing the button, just like Vital Link, Vital Link. They have great OC, they have great durability. You're just waiting. because then you're in the game longer and longer and longer. And all you need to do is control. There's no benefit for killing in this one. So like he was very aggressive. If that play would have like hit off, then the Rust Stalkers are potentially, depending on what they roll, are going to be like causing an issue kind of in my backlines. But I still think it causes the same issue of, I still clean up all of that potentially, and that's really difficult to come back from. So Vital Link just in general is a good mission for AdMech. Servitor Battleclades with advance and do an action are fantastic, but he went all in and it just didn't work. And Deathwatch are pretty lethal, so they're able to punish.
And how in the world are those 65 points in Guardsmen or 75, dude? We've talked about this already, but that shit is fucking insane. It makes zero sense at all. They are like 3 times more durable, have a better rule, and are 10 points cheaper. Like, what in the world is going on, G-Dub? Like, my God. Insane. But
and I told him before the game, I was like, Adrian, for the love of God, do not tell me the points cost of your units. Because I'm going to be really depressed when I don't kill them with what I consider to be one of the most lethal armies in the game. And I don't kill you and you survive. And then you're just like, yeah, you killed a 65-point unit. Or you couldn't even kill a 65-point unit. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. It happened to me. I know they're going to live. It's okay. I can't hear how these infiltrators survived again because they have a 5-up invul and 2 wounds apiece. So
yeah, insane. All right, well, going into round 5, you got to go back into the meat grinder and see some of the greenest boys around who definitively did not get nerfed in between your last RTT and this GT. That did not happen. So we'll take a look at that list real quick. Gazgul Thraka leading a unit of 20 boys, and then a Pain Boy attached as well. A Beast Boss with 20 Beast Snagga boys. Mazrog Scragbad with some Squig Hog boys. And then we got Boss Snickrot, Wazdaka Gutsmech, the most auto-include annoying little thing you've ever seen. Beast Snagga boys, 1 Battle Wagon, a unit of 10 Gretchen, 2 Kill Rigs, and then another unit of Squig Hog boys. Yeah, they were ready to run at you. I am sure.
Yes, they were very much so. Everything, all the big stuffs in transports. Gaz started on the board. He did start a kill rig in reserve, and then yes, that was the only thing in reserve besides the stupid Wazdaka going up and down. So there's one thing I think, reflectively looking back at this list, we talked about it, Rob and I, before the game and after the game, because I asked him, I was like, hey, do you not have any flash kits, or do you not have any Ludas? You don't have any of the Rocket Boys? Like, nope, nope, nope. I was like, where's your shooting? He goes, this is my kill rigs, realistically. And then Wazdak has got some, shocker to me, some actually really good shooting was sustained. It's kind of annoying. And it's all damage 2 and AP 2. I was like, oh wow, this is like freaking lethal. So, but this list just runs at you. So, we've talked about this before on the channel, and I think it's one of the important things to explain over and over again. If you don't pre-measure, this list tables you because you don't realize that Wazdaka can drop down and move 20 inches and then charge you after. And he picks up everything. Like, he is so lethal. Same thing with 20 boys getting out of a whatever the transport is.
Or a kill rig.
Not kill rig, battle wagon. Like, getting out of a battle wagon, how far do 20 boys move? Getting out of a kill rig, how far do they move? What's the max they can move? Did you ask all those questions? Did you measure those things out? And that's what I did against, Rob. Because he doesn't have the guns, I can just measure him out and say, okay, I'll give you a 10-inch charge there. I'll give you a 9-inch charge there. I'll give you a whatever charge there. And I will make sure that my opponent can only do those things because I can't put myself in a position where they could just tie a bunch of stuff up. It was the same thing with John playing into his corn. Like, if I don't measure those things out and I just let him go and touch Indomitor bricks, I will lose the game. But this list struggles and will reflect back to Dustin's list in the beginning is One, it doesn't have any shooting. So I can stand pretty much in the open and say, okay, come after me. And I can control lanes of where my opponent's going to come from strat reserve, because the kill rig is not deep strike, Gutsmech or the Wazdaka is. So I can really kind of predict where I know my opponent's going to go. And that makes a huge difference. But if I measure all those things out, they're never going to get into something that I don't want them to get into. So it was just a matter of, I actually ignored the Gaz brick for the entire game. That was the last thing left. I didn't even touch it once. And I went and was aggressive with anything else. I got into his backfield to kill his grots that were back there. That's how I killed Wazdaka as well. Both unit of Fortis were able to put everything into him and kill him, which was huge just in terms of making sure that he wasn't able to trade. And once again, the land speeders showed their worth. They were able to kill Boss Snickrot. One of them, shot up turn 1, 14 inches, touched the piece of terrain, and unloaded into Boss Snickrot, killing him before he got to do any of the scoring that he really needed to do. And it got me a kill 1, turn 1. So yeah, it's just, you know, Rob and I talked about it after, and I'm gonna shoot him a couple more thoughts, because I do like the Big Hunt. I think there's a world where you run a combat army like this. The only thing I don't like is the Squig Hogs. I don't, I'm not necessarily sold on them, and he put a lot of points into them with the Squig Hog boys and the character attached. And the major point in this game, I'll pull it up here so you can see, is so the Storm Speeders. Obviously, I obviously gushed over them pretty much this entire time. So the initial one, when it came up here, Gutsmech was behind this wall. That's a little too big for him. The Lone Op character is behind this wall. So I was able to come up and touch. Just like this. So shot everything into him, I was able to kill him. And then I rolled a 4. So I pretty much was able to come all the way back like this, and a pivot, pre-measuring out where that first Squig Hog unit could go with the character. And it pretty much was going to be an 8-inch charge. So he sent it and failed. And he had like 1 or 2 of the Squig Hog riders like on this edge. Well, guess what I do there? I just drop Indomitor bricks in this corner. I was able to pick up the full unit and the character, which is like awful because they got traded for nothing. And it's all because the land speeder was able to pre-position. If I did that with Terminators, the Terminators couldn't do that. They get picked up there. Is that the end of the world? No, because I still got the unit out that I needed to kill, but now I still have a speeder alive, and the Indomitor brick was able to pick him up. It's just like gross.
Yeah. And because there's a lack of shooting to punish you back, you very freely can just kind of be at kind of max range to still get all your shots, but just again, very, very far away. So it's hard to deal with you and trade back for sure.
I initially thought Search and Destroy was going to be a bad match, like a bad board for me, because I was very concerned that my opponent would just like run up on the line and try to jam me, which he kind of did. He put a big squad of 20 boys here. He had the kill rig behind this wall as well, so it's bigger than this. It's freaking massive. But he had the kill rig behind the wall as well. So, and then he was ready to go. He wanted to jam it into me, but unfortunately, like, it really is just Combi Lieutenant. I had incursors down in this corner, and everything else was back here, pretty much in the L. I was like, I'm not going to let you touch me. I'm not going to let you get into anything that matters. If you do come up, fine, but I will just pick up and run away from you. That's all. I will not allow you to touch the Indomitor bricks until I'm good, well, and ready, because otherwise, like, in any of these combat matchups for the players that are running Deathwatch in a similar list of what I'm running right now, is like, that is the number one thing that will screw up your game.
Yeah, I think that's also another thing you brought up earlier that's worth like really hitting home. And we'll definitively talk about this in our, talking about the matchups, but Purge v Purge, ignoring gas, right? We already talked about it earlier when you played against Purge, killing more than was killed in the previous turn, right? You would have to focus a lot of firepower to kill Gaz's 20 man with the Pain Boy, right? Like that's going to take a lot of resource. You'll still chew through it with maybe like 2 of your large 10 bricks, right? Like you'll get through it, I assume. But in the long run, you're still
think so.
You don't think so?
So
Definitely not in the WA.
Yeah, not in the WA, but like with the Pain Boy, I put everything. I put two pretty much full Fortis brick, two full Fortis bricks, and an Indomitor brick, and I didn't even kill Gaz. Like I got it down to Gaz, but I couldn't kill him, so then I didn't get the kill more on that. It was like turn 4. And I put everything into it. And that was outside the WOG. So in the WOG, there's not a fucking chance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. It's very, very hard to chew through. But again, right, that's the whole point. That's why we want to talk about these things, is like you can ignore the big scary unit, especially the big scary melee unit, especially after it's WOD. It's not fast enough to keep chasing you down. So that's one of those things too, where it's like, while it is very, very scary, if you just pick up everything else they have and you stay spread out, especially like Deathwatch can, not everybody has the uppy downy for their mobility, but if you keep spreading the board, there's only so much that 20 man and Gaz can kill. And so recognizing that, within the play pattern of Meat Grinder is very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a huge difference, absolutely. And unfortunately, those combat armies really struggle with that. So, pre-measuring, we've talked about it before, is like, if you want to get better at 40K and you want to win more games, that's what you do. And I pre-measure things like after my opponent has rolled their charge and they made a successful charge. I will measure out to see how many units my opponent can get in before we start moving everything, because it's very easy to make that mistake in terms of like someone got in that shouldn't have, especially with like specialty characters or units with like power fists or whatever, and where they're at stationed in the unit. It definitely matters.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, it was a great run. 4-1, ended up third place. All right. Well, that was a great 4-1 run, Phil. Congratulations on the third place finish. Another close game into those damn demons. I do have faith you will get them the next time.
Yeah.
But any other final thoughts on, you've now, it's taken a while to really get to play. Now, you've been in Albuquerque or at least in New Mexico for 6 months now, pretty much. And I feel like this is the first you've really gotten to interact with the community and stuff. So how has that been while you've been down there?
It's been great. This community feels very engaged and wanting to get better. So they have taken I think a note out of your book and Brandon Roddy's, who runs Denver 40K Fight Club up in Denver, of like developing a community that cares and works hard and cares about how they represent themselves and how they represent their community. And the space that we were in was really nice. The tables, the layouts, the terrain was all good. No complaints there, which is like, I think it's not easy to get right in terms of especially new 11th edition terrain. And I think they did a great job for that. The TOs were fantastic. Our TO down there, Coca, he was incredible. Can't speak highly enough about him. And they're the ones who, him and Lewis were the ones that made tournaments like this go around. So you can't do it without all the individuals that are willing to sacrifice for everyone to get an opportunity to play. So, yeah, I think if we look at these top 5, I think it's actually really interesting here to see who the dispositions in the top 5 are. So you got Disruption, Recon, Purge, Take and Hold, Recon.
Yeah.
That's a nice, well-rounded top 5, and as well as lists, right? You got Space Marines up there, the 2 Tyranids in the top 5, which is really, really cool. I know Matt would be very excited to see something like that. And then, overall Chaos Demons being able to take hold and win. But you still have Custodes that went 4-1, Eldar that were 3-1-1, Orks obviously still incredibly solid. So it is a very good, I think, reflection of the meta right now. Things are being you can be successful with different things, which for people that like doing content and also like having a little bit of variety in my games, it's nice to see so many different types of 40K being played.
Yeah, I do feel like this is something we've talked about. Both Phil and I are planning to go down this next month to a 5-player teams event in Albuquerque again. And that has been one of the things I've been looking at, is trying to figure out what I'm going to play. And it's looking like I might be our disruption player. But I think it's very hard to find armies that like their good detachments are disruption, or like their most like, oh man, that like really has sauce, are disruption. But if they do, I feel like disruption is actually quite overlooked as a primary mission.
Well, there's one way to prove it. We
Yeah.
have more tournaments coming up, more GTs coming up, more games coming up. So we are definitely locked and loaded. We have more content coming out for our layout series. Those will continue to be rolling off the conveyor belt production line as Lane and I work away. So yeah, we can't wait to talk to you about all of those.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Go ahead and comment down below. Let us know what you have been running in your recent events. We love to hear it. And as always, do not forget that victory isn't given, it is forged, and it's forged right here at Mastercrafted. We will see you all next time.
See you guys.